Okay.
And when we whoop enough ass, everybody gonna get in line and do right. All right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Welcome, family. Welcome to the program today. And we are having conversations with Valerie. And we're going to let Valerie come on in and introduce herself today. Peace and blessings, sis.
Peace and blessings. I'm Valerie, and I'm glad to be here.
All right. Well, tell us some things about you because you're an accomplished author and a lot of other things, a businesswoman.
Yes, I am an author of Marriage is a Process, and I'm also a co-author of 3 other books. I have my own Love Biome business. We focus on gut health and try to restore people's health. Uh, I'm also a graduate with 3 master's degrees and retired from the federal government.
All right. Now, that's a lot. That is definitely a lot. I want to say peace and blessings to Earth Angel Remix 1105. Peace and blessings. Welcome to the program. We're glad that you're here. And this show that we are doing has been on the board to do for a while. It's been being pushed back and pushed back, but we are ready, rocking and rolling live today. And so our topic is Black mental health, how to find your righteous mind. And so the first question that I want to ask you about this is mental health real?
Yes, mental health is real. It affects our mind, our mood, our behavior, and anything going on with us. People suffer from different things that come from having mental health, like depression and anxiety and bipolar and schizophrenia, ADHD, and plenty of other things.
All right, excellent. Welcome also Brother Willie Rivers in. Peace and blessings, Brother Willie. And Sister Earth Angel, this is Sister Valerie.
Hi.
And she's getting interviewed today about Black mental health. So that's what our topic is today. Is mental health a sin?
No, I don't. In my opinion, it's not a sin. And the reason that I'm saying it's not a sin is because you can't help if you're depressed. You can't help necessarily if you're depressed. You can't help necessarily if you're going through stuff. Some things we can avoid, but in my opinion, it's not a sin. I've seen, for instance, Job, all the stuff that he went through. There's no way that you can say that he didn't go through mental health, and he still he didn't curse God or anything. He didn't sin, but he was going through. Jesus was in agony when they put him, had him pinned to the cross, and he didn't curse God. He didn't do anything. We know God and Jesus, they're perfect beings, and all of the sweat that he sweated, um, according to the book of Luke, that was like having mental health. So I believe that mental health is real, and a lot of us suffer with it.
Now,
It's not a sin.
Earth Angel says mental health is emotions. When we look at it, when we deal with anxiety, we deal with grief, we deal
Mhm.
with depression, all of those are emotions.
Mhm.
So is it is it some? I would think that with those emotions is one thing, but then when you're dealing with schizophrenia, people hearing voices, uh, that may be that's something of a total different thing. Um, and should they be? I think they should be separate, not in the same category, because a person that's hearing voices and schizophrenia and all that, that's something totally different from depression, anxiety. What's your thoughts on that?
So it all comes from something, and so though it may be different, it's still something brought it on. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be like from generational, it could be somebody living in the wrong type, well, I won't say the wrong type, but in poverty or different things. I believe that it comes from something.
Mm-hmm.
um and you're right, it could be divided or separate, two different entities, but it still comes together, the same things. You still need medication, you still need to do A, B, or C
Mm-hmm.
to control it.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I'm glad you brought in on the medicine part,
Hmm.
um, where they have the medication for your anxiety,
Hmm.
and that's one of the top prescribed medication for
Hmm.
anxiety. That's Xanax.
Right.
Um, but when we really look at it, it doesn't remove that whatever it is that you're having the anxiety for, right?
Right.
It's like maybe buries it for a while,
Hmm.
and you're not really thinking about it, but it doesn't go anywhere. Um, so it's a kind of thing of wondering, like, because even if they take medication for schizophrenia, and they hearing voices,
Hmm.
it don't cure it.
No, it
It,
doesn't.
it doesn't cure it. So the question has to be, well, then what is the purpose of giving the people the medication?
In order to kind of maintain it, because it could be worse without medication. It could be really, really bad, but if you're taking your medication, that's going to keep you a little calmer. And I know this from, I have a friend that has schizophrenia. They just put him in a home for mental illness,
Mm,
and he stopped taking his medication. So he would call and say somebody's after him,
mm,
somebody's come help me, somebody's going to
mm,
shoot me, or he's done called and said that somebody broke in the house when nobody had broken in the house. But the
mhm,
whole time that he was taking his medicine, it was fine.
mm,
He stayed calm. He wasn't
mhm,
nobody chasing him. What He wasn't hearing voices, nobody telling him anything, because the medicine, if you take it like prescribed, it's going to subside it to a degree.
mhm.
It's still there, but
Right.
you can live with it as long as you're taking that medicine, even though it's not going to heal it. I say that you will be on that medicine for the rest of your life,
Mhm,
because if you want to live a normal life, if you want to live a normal life, you're going to have to
mhm,
take medication, even though it doesn't heal, but it will subside it, keep you calm, and
mhm.
things of that nature.
Now, Earth Angel Remix has a good. She says that spirituality combats the agony of stressful situation, which brings these emotions boiling over. And when we're dealing with grief and anxiety and depression, what's your thoughts on that about the spirituality? Um,
So I believe that if you are spiritual, if you are praying and seeking God, whatever God you serve, I believe that you can make it. and there's a possibility you won't even have to have take medicine. It's your relationship with whomever you believe in. That
Mm-hmm.
that can keep you. Or and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even if you have a relationship with God, or whatever God you believe in, you still may have to take the medicine, but it won't be as bad. But
Mm-hmm.
the key here is to have a relationship with God, or your God, and trust in Him. The faith, if you believe that God can heal you, or keep you, then I believe that you can make it. That's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing as taking medication, but you're
Mm-hmm.
using God. It
Mm-hmm.
depends on how strong your faith is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Excellent. Excellent. So, what do you think are the causes of mental health disorders?
So I think it can come from being in a home with parents that are abusive to one another. It can come from your environment, where you stay at. It can come from police brutality. It can come from um, someone gets sick, and someone that you love really, you really really close to. It actually drives people over the over the roof or over the top,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not able to handle the sicknesses, um and basically any type of negativity uh can cause this.
Mm. Okay. Okay. Now, what does racism affect Black people's mental health? What's your thoughts on
Yes,
that?
yes, I believe that racism does affect our mental health, because people don't want to live with people calling you niggas and um monkeys, because that's what I've heard people being called from white people, and that causes a person to become mental, to be uh for their house or their church, or their store, their business getting burned down because of their color, and hanging noose, where around our people houses and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, that would cause us to become mental health, have mental health, dealing with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that that kind of trauma can be passed down through the DNA in people?
I'm not sure about it being passed down through the DNA, but society itself can, being here. For instance, my sons kept getting pulled over by the police
Mm-hmm.
because of their color, because one of them have dreads, and just being African American, that they're getting bullied by the police, and it caused me an effect, because at one point I was so scared of police, because I didn't want to get beat up like they did my son, but they have thrown me down on the ground, and it's not a good feeling. And so it does something to you mentally when you see it, when you see police, or and even in some cases the white people,
Mm-hmm.
because the prejudiced white person is definitely not going to make you feel comfortable when they're in your presence.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. What would you think is um, the biggest mental health problem in America?
I think anxiety, depression, and bipolar are the biggest three, from me just reading and doing a little research. See,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and then in the world, it would be anxiety, depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, and eating disorder.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, um, Do you think that bipolar is real?
To me, bipolar is on the same lines as with the depression, but
Mm-hmm.
that bipolar is just a little more in depth. But I do believe that there's a such thing as bipolar, where people had a multiple personalities, and um, it's just a little. I think it's a little more extensive than just being depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Bipolar, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Now,
you got to take your medicine.
do you consider ADHD and bipolar the same thing, or totally two different things?
I think it's two different things. And reason being why I think it's two different things is because I had an aunt that was bipolar. And so she was saying things, and she would get down, and she was saying things, she would get down in spirit, basically the same on the same lines as depression. But when I look at ADHD, I have my godson has that, and he without that medication is off the chain.
Mm.
So I believe that it's real, and I also believe that it's just a version, a stronger version of depression.
Mm. Now, I want to ask you because Earth Angel brought up a good point. She says that I watched my older brother, who is a genius in his own right. My mom didn't know how to engage his intelligence. As a young child, I watched him read all kinds of books.
Mm-hmm.
He read satanic books, playing Ouija boards. My brother saw a demonic spirit, and he's been on meds now for 40 years. Is it with things like she was saying, and with children that may be hard to control, that it is given a classification just for medication purposes?
That's what I've heard, um, until I met my godson. So he was born to with ADHD, or he got it, at a young child, at a young age.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of didn't believe in it until I started being with him, and I have never
Mm-hmm.
been around a child with ADHD. So what happens is he's out of control. He gets into stuff. He's very mischievous. He um, he doesn't listen. He tell you what he's going to do. He'll cuss at you. Um, he's just out of control. But with medication, I noticed that he's more calm. He's calmer. He listens a little more. He's still hard headed, but he will listen a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not running all around the house, like his like he outside somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So without the medication, that's a child that you really don't want to be around. But with the medication, and sometimes I think the medicine is too strong, because now he has to take naps.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I still say, and he's a very good artist. I want to say that he's very good. He can draw very well. So he has a talent. So it's not keeping him from having a talent,
Mm-hmm.
but it's keeping him, like, I can't get him as much as I want to get him, because I can't. I mean, I don't know that I can't, but sometimes I don't want to deal with the different is it mindsets or the different versions of him that I may get? Because one day I might get him one way, then he wake up the next morning another way. So it's kind of difficult. But I think that what keeps me in his life is that I really do care about him. I really love him, and I see something in him. So like a child with ADHD, but I believe that he's going to be an accomplished young fella once he get a certain age with his artwork. Yep.
So do you think that is he just undisciplined? Does have we spared the rod or
nope. No, I don't believe that he gets no spanking. I popped him though. When he's with me, I don't have a problem popping him because I need him to listen to me and do what I say do. Right. So I don't have it, but I don't believe that when he's home he gets disciplined. He's able to do what he want to do, and that partly plays partly part of a situation, when gets out of control. If he doesn't want to take his medicine, he probably doesn't take his medicine. And you can't keep, you got to be consistent.
Interesting. There's a skit that a little Cat Williams thing that I want to play that he talked about that. Okay. And I want to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
So let me know if you can hear it.
Okay. Not yet.
Can you hear it?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, let me see. All right, let me know if you can hear it this time.
Okay.
Making their motherfucking money. They give you
yes.
patient supposed to fix some shit, and the side effect fuck up your leg and shit. Then they give you another one to fix that, and it fuck up your arm, and now you on 2 medications looking like a flamingo in front of your motherfucking children and shit. These motherfuckers don't give a fuck. Just 1 month, they say this is the best medicine ever. It'll cure everything. And then 3 months later, you hear this quiet ass commercial. Have you or one of your loved ones been killed from using our medicine? Dial 1-800-RBAD. That's 1-800-RBAD. These motherfuckers don't give a fuck. Weed is still illegal, and all of their shit is still fucked up. Their medication either don't work or it worked too fucking good. And I wasn't familiar with working too good, and I had to find out the hard way. I got a son that's 7. His name Malik. This nigga run every goddamn day. That's what the fuck he do. You ain't gotta chase him. You ain't gotta train him. You ain't gotta put shorts on him. This nigga is ready every morning. Soon as his foot touch the goddamn ground, out the bed, shoo, that nigga's gone for the rest of the goddamn day. Shoo, 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 shoo. You either see him like this or like that. That's your only 2 options. Shoo, 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 shoo. And he be happy as shit. Now, the nurse at the school say, she say it's not healthy. I said, you don't understand. The nigga's happy. She said, no, you don't understand. Whether he's happy or not, it's not healthy. I said, now I don't know what the fuck you want me to do. The nigga, I can't put the nigga in trouble for being happy. That's kind of nigga, stop being happy and get in there, big mess of her. I can't fucking do it. So I said, what do you recommend? So she recommended Ritalin. Now, she told me the shit was gonna even him out. Now, either I don't know what the fuck even means, or Ritalin got crack cocaine in it. One of the two is a goddamn fact, because this shit is no bullshit. I wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. This shit caught both of us off guard. I gave the nigga the shit in the kitchen. He was on the way to his room. That nigga never even made it out the hallway. That shit caught that nigga in mid-stride. He was just... Now, for the first 2 hours, I was happy as shit. I'm getting shit done. I'm like, this is wonderful. But after 3 hours, you got to come and check on the nigga now. After 3 hours. Nigga, what you doing? My kid's smart ass. I'm being good like you want it, daddy. This is what fucked me up. I was like, you've been sitting there for 3 hours. What are you thinking about? That nigga said, running? Well, go on and run then, little nigga. Go on and run. Because you just gonna have to let real shit be real shit, motherfucker, 2008. Because these motherfuckers...
So, Cat making fun, but he's making some real points. In there, the medication stopped him all up. I was in the pet store the other day to get the dog some food, Big Boy some food, and I saw in there for the first time hemp and CBD stuff, and it was like, your dog is overactive. Use this, and it'll slow him down. And I was like, "Yo, I can't imagine." Because when we bring Big Boy in the house now, he'll run. He'd be running upstairs, downstairs, back and forth. He'd be running. And I give my dog that boy wouldn't be running no more. And I was just so shocked that they had this for animals, And Earth Angel makes a point about her brother. Mm-hmm. She says that he needed discipline.
Yes.
Her brother used to attack them all the time until they jumped him, and that made him stop. Wow. And I remember, and you telling us about the little boy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't get whoopings at home. You had to square him away a few times. Yeah. And so, I come to the point of thinking, is it a problem that the parents are just not doing what needs to be done? Because, even with the dog, I'll let him run. Let him get that energy out. Let him run. Mm-hmm. It don't bother me. But I know if I needed to stop him, I could stop him. Right. And it don't require no weed or nothing like that. So because in India, they don't even have no medication for ADHD. With all of their children over there, they say that thing is not real. Mm-hmm. It's something that America and Britain, these white countries use off of, mm-hmm. but they will control their children over there. And I'm wondering, have we actually taken a step back mm-hmm. in our parenting, which causes these children to be able to cuss you out or, mm-hmm. Say, I'm not going to do this and I dare you to do anything about it. Mm-hmm. Have we stepped back mm-hmm. from actually being good parents?
Wow, that's interesting. I believe that he's just talked to, probably yelled at. I'm like 99% sure he is not getting a spanking before. Besides over here, but I'm speaking of at home. And so he just does when he don't want to go to school. he just cut up so he don't have to go to school. If he don't want to go to bed, he cut up, and I guess he gets his way. But here, when he comes here, is a different scenario because I will get him. I grew up getting spanked, so I do the same thing. But I try to talk to him, and I know a lot of white people. I mean, they kind of just talk to their children and stuff, and it doesn't always work. Talking doesn't always work. So you have to show a child, and not just him, all my grandkids, same thing. I don't want to keep talking. I don't want, you to run over me either. I'm not chasing nobody up and down these steps. I got too old for that. So you have to do what I tell you to do. If not, there's consequences. Whether it's a backhand or, whatever. You got to get control. And it's kind of hard. I don't have him enough that I can do with so much. I might have him 2 or 3 days or up for, I think the longest I had him consecutively is 5 days. But then I only had him like a couple of days. So it's not consistent enough to really make a damaging change. So I just believe that kids like that, they need to have the consistency of knowing what's right and wrong, even though he knows what's right and wrong, but he needs somebody else to tell him, besides me when he's here. Yeah. So
exactly. Now I want to ask you, since we did talk about Bible and religion, and then Earth Angel is speaking about Bible and discipline. The Bible says that if you spare the rod, then you hate your child. But if you whoop them, you love your child. Break that down for us. What is that talking about?
So if you whoop your child, I think that you're doing them a justice, because as long as you whip them for the right and just not being abusive, because you don't want to be abusive. But it takes a whooping sometimes. Everything doesn't require whooping. So let me get that straight. Everything doesn't require whooping. Everything doesn't require spanking or a popping. But sometimes you have to do that in order to gain their respect, because some kids will walk all over you. They will walk all over you if you just let them go, And so even though the Bible, it says that, I just believe that, you have to whoop a child, otherwise you might end up getting whooped. I mean, seriously. Yeah. There's plenty of people that's scared to go to sleep around certain people. And then the certain people could be our children, because they don't know what they're going to do, or what they might do. Yeah. And so some parents have to lock their door when they go to sleep for fear of what their child might do to them while they're asleep. Because some children are just so spoiled because they never get a whooping, they never get chastised, and they want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And if the parents say no, it's a problem. So to be safe, they sleep behind locked doors.
Wow. I would have never imagined that. I wish I would sleep behind a locked door for my child.
Exactly.
Ain't no way.
Yeah.
Wow. I want to touch on the point that you and I want to take this time to welcome Narma X to the program as well, and deal with the position that Earth Angel talked about, abuse and discipline, that there's a line between which what would you consider to be abusive, and what would you consider to be discipline?
abusive, I would consider if you busting a child in the face, making bruises all over the face, or just using a weapon other than a belt or a switch. Because some people they use a lot of stuff. My daughter was mad because I used a lamp cord on her one time, but I was getting beat with switches. I had to go get my own switch. I had to I was getting beaten with cords as well. So that's what I knew, but if you leaving marks on kids, to me, that's abusive. That's being abusive. If you're busting them in the face, you don't have to hit a child in the face, knock their teeth out, or, just black their eye or anything like that. You don't fight them like you fighting an adult. You still treat them as a child. Remember, they are your child or your children. You can discipline them without just going overboard and disciplining them. So yeah.
Now I know for me, being a parent, I whooped mine. Didn't have to do it that often, but I did.
Right. Yeah.
And I also process with them, like, if it didn't raise to the level of getting a whooping, I may tell you go take a time out in the corner.
Right.
And then when you're in the corner, after I take you out, then I'm gonna have a conversation with you of why was you in the corner?
Right.
Right. What did you do? Why was that wrong? Such and such. And even after I whoop them, or even before they get a whooping, I ask them the same questions. In my home, I did like this. If you lie to me, that's automatic ass whooping. Ain't no if, ands, two buts. You want to get it because you lied. Period. Point blank. If you told the truth, you may get a timeout. You may get on punishment.
Right.
But the law was established, and it was respected. And if you didn't do right, you got punished for it.
Right.
Period. Point blank. Do you think that part of our problem here in America, that in our communities, that a lot of us as parents actually stepped away from that because the enemy says that you don't have a right to discipline your child?
Some people may have, but what I find is parents too busy trying to be their kid's friend instead of being their parent. And when you do that, that just changes everything. Yeah, they not going to respect you as their leader or their parent if you're trying to be their friend. You got to make a division. You can still love them. I'm not saying don't love them or don't, do things with them, but you got to let them still know, hey, I'm your mom, I'm your dad. I am the adult. And let them realize that, they have to listen. Because if we don't teach them, the street's going to teach them, and they're not going to teach them right.
Exactly. I remember I heard Minister Farrakhan give a story one day, and he said that his neighbor, as a child, his neighbor was beating their son. And somebody in the building heard the boy holler, and so they called the police. And he said it was an Irish cop that came to the house and knocked on the door. The mother opened the door. She was from the island, from West India. And so he said to her, are you whooping your child? And she said, yes, I'm whooping him. And she said, well, did your mama whoop you? And he said, yes, she did whoop me. She said, well, I'm whooping mine. Now, if you want to come in, you can come in. She says, because I'm whooping mine, so you don't have to use your stick or you don't have to use your gun out there to whoop my child. So you can come in and watch me whoop my child because I'm about to finish whooping his ass. And she pulled him from under the bed and was whooping his ass. And after she finished whooping his ass, she told the police, now you can leave. I'm done. That kind of forthrightness with her taking her responsibility over her child was very sincere And I believe it garnered respect with the police officer.
Yeah.
Do you feel as though when Black folks who choose not to discipline their children for fear of, the child calling 911, that if they make that step, that they will produce better children?
Yes. That's what's wrong with people now, because they fear one of the kids calling 911. But my thing is, if they call 911, they can come, they can take them with them, because if they need to be disciplined, they need to be disciplined. My granddaughter was over here and her dad whooped her. She gonna jump out the car and run to the police station as if he was wrong. The police told my son, whip her behind some more. Yeah, he wasn't abusing her. He was whipping her. She had done something over here. I forgot what she had done, but he don't believe in that. He grew up getting whoopings, and so he whooped her. Right. And she thought, because the law is that, you are not supposed to hit your child, she called herself being smart and gonna run to the police. And they told my son to take his belt off and whoop her some more.
Exactly.
So that showed her, and she was so like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's something. I remember Mr. Farrakhan said, y'all get it now where the children call 911 on you. He said, but when my children were small, they even thought about calling 911. I break their damn fingers.
I know that's right.
Norma X also made a good point, and I want to talk to you about that. So I also feel we have to consider the differences of public and private space discipline. I hate seeing public whoopings. What is the thing with that? Should there be a certain standard for private discipline and another standard for public discipline? How should that be taken care of?
I believe that if they doing something wherever they at, that's where they get it, because they're going to forget by the time they get home what they're getting a whooping for. But some people do take it too far in public. I've seen it, where somebody just grabbing somebody's ear, a child's ear, and just pinching it for days. And so I know when they took their hand off of it, the ear was red, or, So, right. I mean, in a sense, is you got to watch how you do it out in public, because if you're doing something that you really shouldn't be doing, if you whooping them how you should not be doing, then you might find yourself in jail. But if you just whooping them, and not being so aggressive or abusive, then, because if a child fall out, that's a whooping. If a child fall out on me in the store, I'm going to get down with them and tear their behind up. I don't care who like it and who don't like it. So it kind of depends too on what are you disciplining them for.
Right.
Yeah, but if a child is falling out and stuff, you got to get down with them. You can't wait to get home. You need to do that there, so they'll know, hey, I can't fall out in the store. I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to get my behind whooped in front of everybody. Everybody going to be looking. But on the same token, not to contradict myself, I think it just depends on what you're disciplining them for, how you should discipline them home or whether you out.
Excellent. Now, Norma X also makes a good point, and I want to get your opinion on that. Said, look at the results of no whoopings in European families. They end up deleting their own parents, or going to school and delete other students. And I did a little research on that, where these school shooters, their parents didn't believe in that kind of discipline of whooping their child. They believed in talking to and trying to reason with their child. But as you can see, these children, they turn loose and they kill up their parents and then go to school and kill up, the children and teachers in school. that is a clear departure from what the God of the Bible say, that you should do. When looking at that, how would you explain, or would you even take the time if a Caucasian person told you, hey, look, I think that you shouldn't be disciplining your children because, it's not good for them or whatever. How would you deal with that type of conversation?
I wouldn't let them sway me from raising my child the way I feel is the right way to raise my child. You raise your child how it benefits you, and I'm gonna raise mine how it benefits me. Yeah. So
yeah, and do you believe that the result of non-spanking is definitely that product of that child becoming even more wilder and even more out of control?
yes, yeah. They never had a spanking. They don't know what it's like to be disciplined. So they think that everything that they do is right, and so in their minds, it could be, yeah. So I know I ain't gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna go shoot up the school. Yeah, I ain't gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna rape this person, or do something because there's no sense of consequence in their mind. They never got disciplined, and the likelihood if they haven't gotten disciplined, they probably haven't gotten told what you're doing is wrong or anything. Yeah.
Now, when we're dealing with this mental situation, and when we do the research, we'll look like that, going back to slavery, white folks said that Black people had a mental problem because they ran away from the slave plantations. That was a mental issue that we had in our minds. Knowing that this was sort of the birth of this, psychology type thinking, that we had mental issues because we would run away from plantations. How does that really vet or give credence that these psychologists and all of this really know what the hell that they're talking about, when the beginning of it, they're coming up with these reasons of why slaves run away, because they had mental problems, they didn't understand how good they had it, and then I believe this was in the 70s, where this group of people who were against the psychology and all of this thing sent people into the crazy house where nothing was wrong with them to see if the psychologists and them would catch it. And they didn't. The psychologists had, said, these people had this wrong, they had this wrong, this wrong. So they did a press conference and was like, yeah, we sent these people in and there was nothing wrong with them. And y'all said you had this, this, and this. So y'all fake, you're not real. Then the psychologist said, well, send them again. Go ahead and send them again. And I guarantee you we'll catch each and every one. So they said, okay, it's on. Experiment supposedly take place. Press conference was held. The doctor said, yep, we found this many, we found this many, we found this, and nothing was wrong with these people. The people was like, we didn't send nobody. We didn't send nobody. So, twice that they were shown to be incorrect. They were shown to be, a lot of foolishness. So, it goes back again to, if we're dealing with anxiety, grief, depression, and like Earth Angel said, that these are emotions, right? So if we're going to cure your anxiety, we gotta go to what is the source of it, right? What is the real deal that's causing this type of anxiety, this grief, or this depression, and be able to hit it head on. Whereas society says, let's give you this medication to dull you down. Now, I'm not talking about those who hearing voices and schizophrenia, and no, I'm not talking about those. I think that with the example that you gave, where the young man stopped taking his medication and he started hearing voices all over again. I believe that with that, there's a serious mental whack up in the brain that the medication does, simmer it down so that he can handle, even if it's making him more sedated, so that he can't do the things that he would normally do. So to back that, slaves ran away because they didn't want to be mistreated. You're facing anxiety and grief. Do you think that we have to, or we should be going to the core of what's causing the problem?
Yes, I do. And my take on slaves running away and stuff is, to me, is because they get tired of, the women get tired of being raped, the men get tired, they all get tired of picking cotton and working in the vineyard and doing hard labor. And then at one point they may get whipped for nothing. Nobody wants to live like that, and 9 times out of 10 they didn't even ask to be a slave. They were sold there or given there by somebody. So it causes mental illness, but it's because they're being mistreated, and the way they're being mistreated can cause harm, mentally, physically. Like I was thinking about Whoopi Goldberg in The Color Purple. He just lay on her, doing his business. Nobody wants to live like that. Why would she come out without having a mental illness? You know what I'm saying? Why? Because that's something that's going to, right? That's like being raped. So you don't want to be raped. That's mind-boggling. That's going to cause issues in your life with relationships. And so it's more to them just running away because they just don't want to be bothered. They running away because they're trying to stay out of harm's way. They tired of getting treated and being mistreated. They tired of the BS, and they could be doing nothing and get mistreated, or they don't supply, or like on Color Purple, when the sister wouldn't give in to the master, he want to kick her out. People don't want to deal with that, whether they're slaves, whether they're human. People in general, they want people to treat them how they treat people. So when you go to just doing stuff to people, they're gonna get away from it if they can. And the sad part is that a lot of them get caught, but they trying their best to get away from the lifestyle.
Wow. And, do you think that the lack of justice has an effect on people? When we know now there's a war going on in Israel between the Israelis and the Palestinians. We know that the Palestinians would, strap bombs to themselves and walk into a place where a lot of Jews are and blow themselves up. Those things are the response of injustice. Do you think that prolonged injustice will make you go insane?
Yes. Yeah. They put their faith in the wrong type of people. And I guess they make the people their God, the Jewish people. They making them their gods, because nobody in their right mind will blow themselves up because somebody tell them to. Yeah, I just it's a mental. It's definitely mental what they got going on, and again, I just think that it comes from them putting their faith in man as their God, and doing what it's like a cult. They just do whatever the people say do, because they are trained to die for them.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I want to show a video
Okay.
of a black man
Uh-huh.
who went into the police department and shot the police up inside the police station.
Okay.
And I want to talk about that because that's something that we all can understand or at least see when you're dealing with the police who, you know, don't treat you right. Now, he went in there and they killed him. You know, they killed him. And then they went and tore his house down.
What?
Yeah, they tore his house down because they wanted to try to wipe away the people's memory of who he is and what he done.
Okay.
Because some of us would look at that and say, shit, the police earned it. You know, that's what they get for doing us wrong, you know. But he was fed up of the police continually, you know, pulling him over. You know, he got beat by the police and all that. So he got fed up with it. You know, they did it to his friend. He got fed up, went to the police station and started the shootout. But I'm going to show the video and get your take on that.
Okay.
The only thing right now, Blu-ray DVDs.
So, and I want to, I'm going to replay it.
Okay.
Now, here's him walking in. He's walking in now. And of course, all of these are the police behind the counter.
Okay.
That police take the first shot. And you can see him moving around shooting at him.
Yeah.
Then he jumps over the counter. So, you know, even in there, you know, as Earth Angel points out, oppression makes a man mad. Oppression can drive you insane. Do you think that the lack of justice can push a person over the edge?
Yes. Yeah. Because the police always doing things and they get away with it. And say a mother loves her son so much more. I mean, well, I won't say more, but you know, there's some kind of bond there that we have with our sons, and for the police to shoot them up or just continue to mess with them, that's a problem. That's a problem, because sometimes they are just stopping black guys for no reason. And you know, causing brutality for no reason at all besides their prejudice. And
I want to welcome Twin Pyramid to the program. Peace and blessings, brother Twin. Earth Angel says 64-year-old white man just shot 5 police officers in Minnesota.
Wow.
Wow.
Lord have mercy.
Wow, that is something. Um, and so with that, and I guess this goes back to the question of the DNA, because we've suffered things for over 400 years. And I believe that trauma does go through. I believe it does pass through, because whatever the mother is going through during the time of pregnancy, the baby goes through as
Yes,
well.
you're right.
And so I'm really believing that goes right on through there. Do you think that we can solve our mental health problems by getting away from white folks?
In some situations, I would say yeah, because it's not always white folks. You know, we had a black killing the blacks, even though it's mainly the white folks that causes they cause us pain, but then they can get away with it. There's no punishment for them. Their punishment is much different than our punishment. Yeah, it's much lighter than our punishment.
I want to show another video and get your take on it. And you know, this was discussed on nightly news.
Okay.
So let's see.
Tonight, a country emerging from protests of pain. After the killing of George Floyd,
I cannot breathe.
Viral moments of racial bias caught on tape.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
And the deadly shooting of Ahmaud Arbery. Incidents that are not just emotionally devastating, but also physically damaging to Black people.
Every police shooting of an unarmed Black person leads to worse mental health for the entire Black population in the state in which it occurred for the next 3 months.
Several studies show a possible association between perceived discrimination and mental and physical health. One study found that Black people who were stopped several times by police were 3 times more likely to exhibit symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and high levels of anxiety and stress. We had a candid discussion about the toll those experiences can take.
Here we are again seeing Black people, Black men especially, being killed in public. It's a spectacle.
Do you feel exhausted by the headlines?
And it's an exhaustion that should not be seen as an exaggeration. It's an exhaustion that should be seen as justified, and that there is a real and a true understanding of why it's there.
That exhaustion, the byproduct of racism that dates back centuries, from slavery to Jim Crow segregation. It's a history of oppression that still impacts Black communities today, especially when images of brutality serve as a reminder.
How does that stress manifest? What does that mean for the Black people in this country who are watching those videos?
It means that they have higher levels of mental health symptoms. It means they have more difficulty sleeping at night. It means that some of their biological systems are not functioning the way that they should.
Causing a collective pain, but behind it, there's still hope.
Moving forward, I think we can continue to tell the truth, and hopefully America looks at itself and doesn't like what it sees.
We have to make sure that Black people, Black babies, Black children are protected.
Hope for a better future and a healthier one. Morgan Radford, NBC News.
Hey, NBC News fans, thank
you. Now, just watching that, and I don't think that's a good answer of what he said. Hope that America sees itself, so that America would take a change, make a change. I think America sees herself and they're fine the way that they are. I don't believe that they're going to make a change. they talked about PTSD. Do you believe in PTSD? And do you believe that we carry PTSD from slave syndrome?
I believe in PTSD because I felt that I had it. Every time I saw police, I would clam up for years, for some years. I'm actually just kind of getting over it. But yeah, I think that I believe that it exists. I don't know about how in depth it is, but I know for myself, like I said, that I suffered with it for a long time, being a mother of Black African American guys, one with dreads, others just driving nice cars with tinted windows. And you can't do that in these days and time around some of the cops, because there are some good ones. So it's really wild. Yeah, but I do believe in PTSD.
And do you think that as they showed in the video, you saw a young child with a sign that says, "Am I next?" Do you think that that's something that can affect children, that they would be able to understand George Floyd, understand Ahmaud Arbery, understand Tamir Rice? Do you think that they understand what it is they're looking at and then reflect on themselves?
I think they understand to a degree. However, if conversations is going on in their home, which most likely is, that's going to allow them with a more in-depth understanding. But just to see it on TV or see it on the news or something, it depends on their age as well. When they're small, like that little girl, I don't think that she's really processing it without other people putting it in her ear, because she's so young. But there are advanced young people too. So, but I think it's more so of her environment and people talking about it that will make her understand it versus her just understanding it by, looking at a TV picture or something. Yeah. And I just don't believe that they fear until they get a certain age. But little like that, I really doubt that they fear, unless, like I said, it depends on what's going on in the home, to talk about it, because our environment will strengthen our mind with certain things. And so that would be the only way.
Now, do you think that it would be a good thing to discuss with your children the way of the world, the way things are going? And if you do, at what age would you start to have that conversation?
I think that it should be a discussion that takes place in the home. And I think maybe around 8, 9, because little kids are getting killed too. So maybe around 8, maybe even 7, the parents should have this discussion. And I say the parents or whoever raising the child, because they may get anything out in the street, learning from the internet, because nowadays the kids are on the internet at young ages. So, they see and understand. And so I think it's better if the parents was to talk to them, maybe at 7 or so.
Okay. I want to show this next video with Dr. Joy DeGrosse. Let's see. And get your take.
Post-traumatic slave syndrome is an explanatory theory that really looks at multi-generational trauma.
Joy DeGruy, I'm sorry.
One of the things that's difficult for people is their first response is, oh my God, that happened so long ago. We're talking about people being captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on. And then you have to ask the question, did the trauma continue? Yes. So 300 years of trauma, no help, freed, no help, more trauma. If it's a sustained trauma, then the impact of that is also sustained. When we look at multi-generational trauma, we're looking at people who are maybe victims of natural disasters and their families and their children, and generations of folks who have experienced war. And we know that there are residual mental, emotional, traumatic impact. And what I did was I started to look at the African-American experience, starting with slavery as a real clear, long enduring trauma. So I started to see that there were clear connections between that survival behavior and contemporary living in African-American experience. I started to see common behaviors that I took for granted as, well, cultural. There's adaptive behaviors, survival behaviors. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a Black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The Black mother leans over to the white mother and says, I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well. And the white mother's response is, oh, thank you. She begins to go on and on about, he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the Black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along. And the Black mother responds, oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves. Now, when I'm working with African-American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course, there's a secret. Because everybody Black knows that even though the Black mother is going, oh my God, she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this Black mother is working in the fields and a white slave owner comes through and says, wow, that boy is really coming along. What is she gonna say? No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work, because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, why can't you be proud of me? Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. Wow. PTSD is a disorder that occurs as a result of a single trauma. You don't even have to be there to actually get a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. You could just hear about something horrific happening with someone you love. So you have people who have experienced it firsthand, people who have witnessed it in their environment, right? People who are continuing to be oppressed. That exacerbates any possibility of healing. So it's not post-traumatic stress disorder, because then it becomes part of what we call your socialization process. So you begin to normalize a way of living and being, everything from what we eat to what we believe it means to be a friend. All of these things are colored by history. And if you don't understand it, you're going to fold in things that you've just assumed are normal. But post-traumatic stress disorder, exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger, feeling of foreshortened future. There was a point where there were African-American children in different urban settings that didn't expect to live to be adults because they saw so much death that they started planning their funerals like at 13, 12, as young as 10. When you start looking at the simple biology, you start looking at the impact of stress on health. And while we look at general stress, we know finances, you have illnesses, all these different things. How about being Black? How does factoring in being Black in America impact your stress level and therefore your body's ability to operate its own immune system? Because we know it compromises the immune system. Once you understand it, then you can deal with it. Because you see, it's habitual. You're socialized. It becomes part of your being. So one of the ways you begin to address that multi-generational trauma is to work with the people it directly impacts, to hear from them. And when you give the people the information, they can use it. I think the first order of business is beginning to have a conversation. And the other is to educate the larger society. We have to stop the assault. So this is not purely a clinical thing. This requires social justice and change. That's where part of the healing is. It's not in a clinical setting or in a pill. It's in fairness and justice and safety and equity. We got to work with some of those clinical things, some of those issues of panic and anxiety. And we also have to deal with the fact that you have a system that is set up to oppress you and to continue to injure you. Both those things have to be dealt with. And they cannot singularly by themselves affect a change. They have to be done collectively.
So that was Dr. Joy DeGruy. What's your thoughts on what she said?
Interesting. Yeah, it was very interesting, and she broke it down. She broke down, you know, the injustice. I mean, that was real interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the part where she talked about that the Black mother denigrates her son to protect her son.
Oh, I don't like that.
That was like, wow.
Yeah, I don't like that, but I understand why what she was talking about, why she did it. But and maybe, I mean, in some cases, I guess you do have to do that, you know, in some situations, just to protect your child. But at the end of the day, just like he was feeling some kind of way, you know, your child gonna feel some kind of way listening to you put them down because they don't understand. If you don't forewarn them, then they don't understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what do you think? What do you think? How is the best way to do that when, you know, you're trying to protect your child? How would you do that?
That's complicated. I probably would have just said nothing, you know. When the lady was saying, "Oh, your son," you know, blah blah blah, I probably would have just said, "Yeah," and probably skip the subject. Versus going the way that the mother did, and now have your child feel in some kind of way. I think to just avoid the conversation altogether is a little better, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think about the part where she said that it's about fairness, justice, and equity to fix these mental health problems? It doesn't start in a clinic, but it starts with those things being done. What's your thoughts on that?
So, yeah, it can start with other things versus going to get a pill or medication. But at the end of the day, once you start, you just got to make sure you maintain. You can't start something. Like for my godson, I can use him for an example. So I can't start by taking his not giving him his medication and just trying to say, hey, you have to act this way, sit down, stop moving. You know, it's not always you know, white or black. It's not always, you know, straightforward like that. Yeah, so some, you know, it varies. Each situation just varies.
Okay, excellent. And I want to get into this video and get your opinion on that as well.
Okay.
We like bling bling, and it does something for us. We like fine cars and nice things, and it does something for us. What does it do for you? It makes us feel better than our neighbor that don't have what we are showing off. See, that's sickness. That's sick. See, if I can put a chain on my face, on my neck, bling blinging, and it makes me feel better, that's because I'm empty on the inside. If I got to have a Cadillac when a Volkswagen would do.
The wrong person here on Richmond.
So what's your thoughts about what the minister said?
So I like what he's saying, and it makes sense. So me personally, I just get what I want regardless of what my neighbors don't get. I feel that if they want it, they can work and get it too. They say, well, my last car that I had was the best looking car on the block, but it wasn't about looks for me. It was because as of a child, I've always wanted a sport car. So I got a sport car. I had to come out of it because I'm old now, older. So I couldn't get in and out. Like,
no, you got rid of the car?
Yeah, I got rid of it because I was having a hip problem, back problem. So it was time for me to get a car where it's easily accessible for me.
Right.
Yeah, but it wasn't my motives for getting the car was good. It wasn't because I wanted to be better than them or show them that I'm better than them, because my goals and their goals aren't the same. They're not looking for the same outcome as I'm looking for. You know, maybe their goal on a bucket list wasn't to have a sport car. Like my bucket list, I wanted a sport car. So I got it and I don't have it no more. So, you know, it is what it is, but it's not, my heart is pure. I just want to satisfy me. I wasn't worried about and I'm still not worried about satisfying, you know, my neighbors, because we all coming from different walks of life. They choose to do them and I choose to do me, you know, totally different. So, you know.
And how do you fill the void of the emptiness inside? What would you recommend for a person that the minister was describing, who's empty on the inside? How would you fill that void? Because that would be, I would think, a person like that would be in depression, would not really be their true selves. So how would a person, would you think, be able to feel that emptiness?
At some point, they're going to have to maybe get into some kind of social groups, or they're going to have to come out the house and do something with themselves. They're going to have to put themselves up, you know, if it's nothing more than treat themselves to something, or because as long as you're not doing anything and or you doing something and you're trying to play big, most of those people are struggling and don't have a pot to piss in, you know, and that's why they acting out with that they are better than somebody, and they are no better. They put their drawers on the same way we put ours on, you know, but at the end of the day, they have a void that needs to be filled, and so they need to search to find out what that void is, so they can act and treat people the way they want to be treated.
Okay, excellent. We're going to welcome Deacons of Reality. Peace and blessings, big bro. Welcome to the program. And when we're understanding, or I guess when we can spot a person like that, what is the best way to deal with that person?
So I have an uncle who thinks that he's better than everybody. And how I deal with him, I speak to him, I laugh and joke with him. And when he starts to talking this nonsense about he does this and he does that better than other people his age, you know, I just look at him, you know, and I let him go ahead and gloat, and I just be like, oh, you know, I don't entertain it, because most of the time people just like to hear themselves talk, and they just, you know, go on and on, and know they lying.
Right.
So,
exactly. Okay, I want to go to the next video. Let you check that out and let us know what you think.
Okay.
Here we go.
I found out the hard way. They did some shit to me I didn't even know they was allowed to do. I knew they could take a nigga to jail. I thought that was it. These motherfuckers put me in a real mental institution with real crazy people. What the fuck? I might have thought I was crazy till you put me in here with the real crazy motherfuckers. Now I know I'm saying this shit. You ain't live till you try to break up a fight with a motherfucker and himself. Fuck you, nigga, fuck you. One of y'all is right. That's all I'm trying to say. I ain't trying to be in your business or nothing. Fucked up. These motherfuckers got me handcuffed to a nigga who's scraping demons out his face. I'm over there like, Jesus, this is your humble servant, Lord. There's clearly been a miscommunication, Jesus. Just saying this burden is a little bit too heavy for your servant, Lord. I'm just saying, Jesus, my cup runneth over, Lord, is what I'm saying. The thing is, I ain't even thirsty, Jesus. Not a little bit. You
He's a trip.
Yeah, he sure is. Do you think that people should be allowed? Because I know of a person whose daughter had her committed, and she wasn't nothing wrong with her. She wasn't crazy or nothing like that. But she had her committed. The police came and picked her up and took her to the crazy house. We're real crazy folks, and they were forcing medication on her. Do you think that that's something people should have the right to be able to do to other people?
No. Not unless a person really does something catastrophically, because at one time back in the day, they used to give people $25 to bring somebody. And so people would do that just to get $25, especially if they're a drug addict. They're going to do that so they can get them a hit or a fix. So I don't think you should be able to, you got to prove, if you can't prove that the person is insane, then you need to not be able to have them committed. Yeah, because the people that's in there, I actually was in a mental institution back in the 1990s, I believe it was. And all they did, they give me this big red pill, and that's what I that stuck with me, because I'm like, I'm not crazy. I was upset and I did take a bottle of pills, but if I wanted to kill myself, I wouldn't have called the ambulance as soon as I took them. I was upset. Went through a mental challenge for a minute. Then they took me to the Southern Maryland Psychiatric Ward, where I stayed in there, and I just remember this red pill. Every time they was trying to give me this red pill, I was running and ducking. Because that red pill was going to put me to sleep. So I'm very careful what I do now. I'm never going to do that again.
I know that's right.
They say never say never, never. Are you going to get me in there? Because it's easy to get in and hard to get out. I tried to explain to the man, I'm not crazy. I was just upset. I just needed a break for a minute. I went about it the wrong way, but I just needed that break. Then I got in there, and this guy with schizophrenia, and he had a crush on me, but already had a girlfriend in there. I was scared for my life. I'm like, please, Doc, I'm not crazy. Let me out of here. And I ended up standing there 7 days. 7 days too long. I never try that again. Never.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something.
Yes.
That is something. All right. Well, we want to go to the next video.
Okay.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible. All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, broadcasting live from the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center, where Forward Care is presenting their program, Men of Courage, Men of Change. Folks, let's talk about a huge issue, and that is the mental health of African Americans. When we see a lot of these police brutality cases happening all across the country, when we see stories like the one in Arkansas where this white woman pulls a gun on 4 young African Americans who are simply trying to raise money for their athletic team, this causes traumatic issues for people of color. And so we can't act as if these things do not matter, don't exist. And in fact, remember, we had the sister who was on the subway train there in D.C. who saw the cops take down this brother who was trying to help in the case of them when they stopped a couple of African Americans. Well, she talked about her mental health and what she was dealing with and what she was going through. And so we're seeing this all the time. In fact, Avis, we even have some folks who, again, are triggered when they see videos. Some people simply can't even watch these videos when they're posted on social media because of the impact they have. There's the targeting of African Americans. In a moment, we're going to talk with a mental health expert, but we have to understand that this is a significant issue, that Black people are under a level of assault in this country, Avis, unlike other people.
People couldn't even watch when they see us, a fictional, well, not fictional, but a representation of a true story, right? Just because of the trauma that would induce by watching what those young men went through as young boys. And so, this is a real issue. In fact, I've read that trauma itself can be passed down through the DNA. And so it's not just a one generational impact of trauma. It can be carried on from one generation to the next generation. So for many of us, given our history in this nation in terms of the traumatic experience of the slave experience, we were born already exposed to trauma. And what happens after we're here just exacerbates the situation.
Kelly?
No, I agree with Dr. Avis, but also people don't understand that trauma affects your entire being. It's not just a mental health issue, especially with Black people, because we don't have the outlet to actually express why we're traumatized or what's going on with us mentally. It affects our physical bodies. That's why we have hypertension. That's why we have, an increased rate of stroke and heart attacks and the like. It's not just thinking, and depression isn't just in your mind. Depression is a physical thing, and anxiety is a physical thing. I've dealt with depression and anxiety. I especially dealt with it when I lived in Baltimore during the Baltimore uprising, because I could see the smoke from my apartment when things were, being set aflame. And it's interesting because I was fortunate enough to actually have a therapist at that time, but so many people aren't. So many people, especially in these inner cities like Baltimore, Chicago, DC, and the like, they don't have the means, they don't have the resources, and their local governments don't have the means and resources, or even think about having the means and resources to actually help this group of people.
Right.
And just because we're people of color doesn't mean that we don't have, we're not a monolith. And we need those resources as well. So
let's go to attorney Enola Ayer. She's the founder and president of Community Healing Network. And Enola, this is obviously an issue that does not get the level of attention that it needs. When you talk about the level of trauma, the impact on Black folks that they are under, when you talk about not just with the police, but also you got white folks who are calling the cops left and right over any one little thing, pulling guns on Black people. I mean, that stuff, you don't simply get over that so easily.
James Baldwin said that to be Black in America is to live in a state of constant rage. That is not healthy. We are in a situation where we're constantly under attack. We're constantly under a microscope. Doing anything while Black can be dangerous and can often be deadly. We're in a situation where we have to stop and realize that as a group, as a community, we need to take time to heal. This current manifestation of the problem is rooted in something that took place 600 years ago in the world and 400 years ago in the United States. And we're in the 400th anniversary of the first recorded forced arrival of Africans in the United States. And it is an important and propitious moment for us to say, look, we've made an incredible amount of progress against so many trials and tribulations. But the one thing that has stayed with us from the very, very beginning, 600 years ago, is this notion that Black people are less than. And that is what we are pointing to at Community Healing Network as the root cause of the devaluing of Black lives, the root cause of our mistreatment, of oppression, of depression, of blood pressure, high blood pressure, all of the problems that we point to and worry about, and all of these symptoms are rooted in this notion that we are less than, that there's a hierarchy of humanity, and that white people are at the top and Black people are at the bottom, and sometimes Black people aren't even in the circle of humanity at all. And we believe that unless we deal with that issue, no constitutional amendment, no legislation, no whatever we may do is not going to address the problem. So we have to go to the root cause, and that is what community healing is about. That is what we are about this coming week in the state of Virginia as we go to the capital of the Confederacy in Richmond. We go with the intent to honor our ancestors and to honor our children by breaking with the most powerful weapon formed against us as people of African ancestry, that lie. We want to declare our freedom from that lie, and we want to develop strategies. We want to share strategies with people so that they can go back to their communities and begin what we call an emotional emancipation circle, a global movement. This movement has been in force since 2006. 2019 is a very, very important year for us. We've been working toward this year since 2006 on the theory that we wanted to engage a critical mass of Black people in this movement for emotional emancipation, healing, wellness, and empowerment by 2019, so that we would be able to see ourselves in a whole new light, to see ourselves in a more healthier view by the year 2020. And that is what we intend to do. Our emotional emancipation circles are self-help support groups. I heard the ladies talking earlier about the need for mental health support. We think that this needs to be a comprehensive, community-wide, global movement, in fact. And for the last 5-10 years, we have been, along with the Association of Black Psychologists, sharing this strategy with people across the diaspora, and it has been resonating. People are realizing that we do need spaces where we can breathe, spaces where we can take the time to heal, understand the impact of historical forces on our emotional lives. What has it done to how we view ourselves? What has it done to how our children see themselves? And what has it done to our relationships and the well-being of our community? It is time for us, as Dr. Maya Angelou said, that it's time to take a day to heal from the lies we've been told and the ones that we've told ourselves. We will not be able to move forward, we believe, as a people until we deal with this issue. And we believe that since we have done such amazing things, even while carrying the weight of this lie on our shoulders, we will be able to do even more amazing things once we have taken the time to heal and free ourselves, and more importantly, our children, from this heavy burden.
So how can folks reach your organization?
CommunityHealingNet.org, CommunityHealingNet.org.
Okay. Well, Shirley, appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for giving us a chance to talk with you. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, back to our Roll Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you've heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org. Why? Because I want to keep you informed.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on that? And then talking about that we as Black people need an emotional emancipation from white folks. What's your thought on that?
Well, in a way, yes. In a way, because when we are around a certain group of white folks, then we have to worry about the abuse that we're going to endure. However, there are some white folks that they try to be Black, or they try to be okay with us. But the ones that don't, I try to stray away from them. I don't need to be around nobody that's going to make me emotionally drained, emotionally scared, or having PTSD or anything like that. And when she says, talk about Black people being less than, I've heard that over and over and over again, but that's not true. There's so many white people under me. I like to consider myself up and established, and I'm still being built, but there's just so many white people that have not accomplished what I've accomplished. And so I just feel that, we do need a day to just lie and soak in some of the things that we have endured, and just have healing time. And sometimes that may work, and sometimes it may not work. It depends on the level of brutality, or the level of mental health that we endure, or we make it to, because of another because of a white person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Okay. And I know for me, I look at it as all of our problems that we have come from them. And I say that based on, them coming over there to Africa, bringing us over here as slaves. And then all of that trauma. And then once we were finally so-called freed, then we're dealing with Jim Crow, and it never stops. The system keeps going on and on and on and on. And I think it becomes, when I look at white people who act Black, who want to be down, I look at it as if it's a fad. It's the end thing. They want to be down, they want to be cool, but that doesn't change anything about them in reality.
Right.
They're culture vultures.
Okay.
And so for me, looking at that and knowing exactly what I'm looking at, it's no wonder why our God tells us to separate from them. That we don't need to be around them, we don't need to be with them. They're just not good for us. And I don't believe we're good for them.
Right.
I don't believe we're good for them. When we're dealing, and let's look at this next video. Here's a video, I'm quite sure you saw it. Everybody probably saw this, and the white woman in the park with her dog, and coming in contact with the Black man. She damn near kills her dog, choking him, and you see the dog doing all like this, and trying to get out because she choking his ear, and she's not conscious of that, but she's conscious of, I'm gonna get the police to get you. That's what in her mind, and at the same time she's killing her dog. So we're going to take a look at that, and come back and discuss it, because these are the things that we're continually having to deal with.
Okay.
Oops.
Described as racially charged. Tonight, with the man behind the camera and the woman in front of it. We're speaking only to News 4's Jackie Beckford, who joins us live from the site of that squabble in Central Park. Jackie.
Well, Stefan, it started with a dispute over an unleashed dog and ended with a woman frantically calling 911, claiming she was being threatened, even though video didn't appear to show that happening. Well, tonight we spoke both to that man and to the woman who basically said what she did was unacceptable and wants to apologize.
Please don't come close to me. Please don't come close to me.
It's a Central Park confrontation marked with racial undertones that's gone viral.
Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
At some point, she decided that, I'm going to play the race card, I guess.
Christian Cooper, an avid bird watcher, says he started recording after telling the woman her dog needed to be leashed at all times in an area known as the Ramble in Central Park.
If the habitat is destroyed, we won't be able to go there to see birds, to enjoy the plantings.
When the woman refused, he offered the dog a treat.
The only way they can keep the dog from eating the treats is put it on the leash.
That's when, he says, she roughly grabbed the dog by the collar, told him to stop recording, and called police, referring several times to being threatened by, quote, an African-American man.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park.
Look at the poor dog.
Does not appear to move any closer to the woman. Her call becomes even more frantic.
I'm being threatened by a man in the Ramble.
Cooper said he kept on recording because he had no intention of being intimidated.
I'm not going to participate in my own dehumanization. I'm not going to feed into this. We live in an age of Ahmaud Arbery where, black men are shot, gunned down because of the presumptions that people make about it.
He stopped recording, walking away as soon as she leashed the dog.
Thank you.
Tonight, this woman, Amy Cooper, no relation to Christian, told News 4 she overreacted.
It was unacceptable. And words are just words, and I can't undo what I did. But I sincerely and humbly apologize to everyone, especially to that man, his family.
Amy apologized during our call, but also claimed that Cooper was screaming, that she felt threatened and didn't know what was in the dog treats. She says she regrets calling the police.
The police, I think of them as a protection agency. And unfortunately, this has caused me to realize that there are so many people in this country that don't have that luxury.
Now, again, Christian Cooper left shortly after that altercation. Police say they did respond to the 911 call, but just chalked it up to a verbal dispute. No complaint was filed. As for Amy Cooper, her employer, Franklin Templeton, a financial firm, tweeting out tonight that they don't condone racism of any kind and that they are investigating. Meanwhile, she has been placed on administrative leave. We're live at Central Park tonight. Jackie Beckford, News.
And so there you have, the white girl who feel threatened and lying, call the police. It's a good thing that the brother was recording. Yeah. And, she should have got charged as well, even for trying to attempted murder on her dog. Fido was fighting for his life, boy.
Yes, he was. Oh my gosh. That was terrible.
And you would look at her, you would think that, she's a nice, mannerly, white lady who don't, cause no issue, don't cause no trouble. Mm-hmm. But in her DNA,
yeah,
there it is.
There you go.
There it is. And with the right circumstances, it's going to come out.
Yep.
It's going to come out. And for her, all it took was a black man asking her to put her dog on the leash inside the park. In other words, won't you follow the rules?
Yeah.
And that's all it took to unleash that racial beast that was right there inside of her.
Yeah.
So, it goes back to, for me, it goes back to the rules that God has established that we are to be separate. Mm-hmm. Because there's no good in them. They are what they are. Their nature will get riled up. And yes, Realm in the Bush, Sister Cassie, she did get fired and wound up suing her employees for firing her. Said that she's suing them because they racially fired her because she was a white woman.
Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black?
Exactly. You find them at every level. You really do. You find them in every level. Do you believe? I want to go back to this question, because Earth Angel said that, or the statement that she made was, I believe she said, and Earth Angel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she said the cure to our mental issues of anxiety, grief, depression is our spiritual relationship to our God. And the more that I think on that, the more it just rings true to me, because a lot of these issues, if you have faith in the real God, then you won't be suffering from anxiety. You won't be suffering from grief. You won't be suffering from depression. You would not have this fear, because we are taught that we should fear only God.
Right.
So a lot of the things we suffer from, either the answer to it is our trust and our belief, our faith in our original God. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's relationship. As long as you have a relationship with your God, I think you won't have to go through all of this stuff. And if you do by chance end up going through it, then you have to really begin to pray and trust in your God to get you out of that mental state that you're in. But I truly believe that if you have a relationship with God, that things can just roll over your head. You keep your mind stayed on Him, it's gonna roll over your head.
And what is the process? What is the process one would go to begin to have that relationship?
For me, it was getting in His Word. For me, it was reading His Word, not just reading one scripture, getting up, but I actually read the whole Bible. I don't remember the whole Bible, but I read it. And so now I go through, and when something catches me, I'll read it and I'll study it and just make a mental of it. And, I pray all day long, even when I'm driving, I'm like, Lord, help me to make this turn, or help me to get over. I put God in everything that I do. And that way I feel like I'm covered, and that He's keeping me from all hurt, harm, or danger to myself.
Good. And when it comes to people, and I don't know, and I wish Mama Brenda was here, because she's the one where her daughter put her into a mental institution. And she called me, but it wasn't nothing I could do to get her out of there. What would you say to a person who comes to you and say, my mom, or my brother, whatever, they say that, the white man is evil, this, that, and the other, don't trust this, don't trust that. I'm thinking about putting their ass into the mental house, getting them committed for a time. What would you say to a person like that?
I believe I would tell them that what goes around comes around. So you put somebody in there that's not deserving to be in there, then that's going to come back on you. You have to treat people how you want to be treated. And when you putting somebody away, you make sure you're doing it for the right reason and because there is an issue. But if you putting them away just because, like I said earlier, you're getting money, or you just doing it just because you have that authority, then there's an issue there. You can't just take somebody's life and put it in your hands and do what you want to do. So if there's not an adequate reason for the person to be in a mental place, then please don't put them in a mental place.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely. And I want to welcome the forecast to the program. Also welcome Realm in the Bush to the program. Peace and blessings, Sister Cassie. Peace and blessings, Forecast Radio. Our topic today is Black mental health, how to find and keep your righteous mind, in our conversation with Sister Valerie. Sister Valerie, when we're looking to restore our minds from the conditions that it's in today, to bring it back to a right state, what would be that process? What do you think that looks like?
You have to start with God, because without God, it's not going to be made possible. Sometimes it takes for a person to study issues, whatever you're going through, you might have to do some research to find out, what it's about. And sometimes you need to find out, how do I get healed from this? Especially those that don't have a relationship with God. But normally, if you have a relationship with him, then you will, just pray and read your word and, get confidence that, hey, God can take me through anything. He can do anything but fail. And because he can do anything but fail, because he abides in me and me in him, I can do all things. And so therefore, I don't have to be subjected to mental challenges, because I have confidence and I have trust and faith in God.
Yeah. Do you think that once we overcome the mental challenges, that we would actually be in a state of peace? I've always said that if we separate from the enemy, we could build heaven overnight. Do you believe that if Black people really stopped being niggas and really embraced what it means to be Black, and begin the real process of loving themselves, loving their brother, loving their sisters, loving our God, that we'll be able to produce a heavenly state here on earth?
Yes, sir. I believe that. But as long as we embracing, the wrong type of people, then there's going to always be an issue. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
Awesome. And let's see. And for everybody, Sister Valerie has her own channel. Let's see. Sister Valerie, can you place your channel in the chat? Do you have it available to place in the chat?
Chain.
And so our program today, that we're talking about mental health issues, because we as a people, we go through a lot, and we have to be able to know, well, what is the answer? How do we come out of that? How do we defeat our mental issues? Because I truly believe that the more we suffer from it, the better off the enemy gets. So he has no real desire to fix our problems. These are the problems that we have to fix ourselves, or we will continue to suffer those same problems. And Sister Valerie, I got your channel. I'm about to place it in the chat. Okay. So everybody, if you could go and subscribe to Sister Valerie on her channel. And she's a really good up and coming YouTube personality. And you would definitely be blessed. So we definitely ask you to go out and subscribe, support. She's definitely Black First. And definitely getting her involved. You'll see her more on the Saturday programs as well. Sister Valerie, you got any last things you want to say? Any closing comments?
I want to thank everybody for coming out on today and on this evening. I thank you. I appreciate you. It's been real. I learned some things that I didn't know on mental health. And I just thank y'all. See you Saturday.
Definitely. And we thank you, Sister Valerie, for coming with us and explain and taking your time out to go over this most important subject of Black health, Black mental health. And we ask everybody to come back and be with us again on Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We will definitely be in the house. And Brother Forecast, we definitely appreciate you, big bro. We're glad every time that you can take the time out to stop in and hang out with us. Love y'all. And as we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me. And our God will reign supreme. We are Black First. Today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Assalamu alaikum.